Hi, this is Stephanie. Welcome to lesson 34 of the B2 course. So we've looked at a lot of grammar recently. Now we're going to focus on some vocabulary, and our topic is sleep. So my name's Stephanie. This is level B2, upper intermediate, and lesson 34. You might be thinking that's a very unusual topic to talk about, but actually it's very relevant. If you think how much of our lives we spend sleeping, there is a lot to discuss. So in this lesson, you will build vocabulary connected to sleep, which is very important. If you think, for example, maybe you're traveling, you're staying in a hotel, but you feel cold, what do you need to ask for? So we're going to look at vocabulary connected to sleep and objects connected to that. We're also going to practice some key prepositions connected to time expressions. And we will discuss the impact of our modern lifestyles on sleep. So there is a lot to cover in this lesson. It's a nice topic, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with some questions for you. What about you? How many hours sleep do you have regularly? So think about the weekdays when you're going to work. Think about weekends when you're not working. Is the amount of hours that you sleep different, or is it more or less the same? Question number 2. Do you think you're getting the right amount of sleep? There are lots of surveys and statistics that are published, and the general consensus seems to be that 8 hours is the right amount of sleep. But do you agree with this? What are your thoughts? Do you sleep 8 hours every night? And question number 3. How do you feel if you haven't slept enough? So what adjectives would you use to describe how you feel? What kind of mood are you in if you haven't had enough sleep? So as always, if you would like to write your answers to these questions and send them in, I would be very happy to look at them for you. So you just need to send them to Perfectly Spoken and make sure you put level B2 lesson 34 so that they come through to me. Okay, let's move on and have a look at some vocabulary. So what I'm going to do is to give you 4 categories. So 4 topics, and I want you to think of as many words as you can in each category. So you need pen and paper or some means of noting down the words. Let's have a look at the categories. Number 1, things you put on your bed. Number 2, things you do when you are sleepy or sleeping. Number 3, types of sleep. And number 4, problems connected to sleep. So what I want you to do is to pause the slide and write down, take 1 minute, write down as many words as you can for each category, and then we will have a look together at the words that I have. But pause the slide and see if you can write down as many words as you can. Okay, so how did you find that? Which category did you think was easier and which category was perhaps a little bit more challenging? Well, let's have a look at some of my answers and see if you have the same ideas. So, things you put on your bed. I've chosen blanket, sheet, duvet, and pillow. Things you do when you are sleepy or sleeping. Well, snore, dream, have nightmares, and yawn. What about types of sleep? So here I have lie in, snooze, siesta, oversleep, and nap. And number 4, problems connected to sleep. Well, jet lag, keeping awake, and insomnia. So how many of these were the same words that you have? How many of these are new words for you? Remember, looking these words up in a dictionary is a very useful way of remembering them. The act of looking up a word is a very useful tool to retain the word in your mind. So these are just some of the words that we are going to focus on in the lesson today, and we'll be doing lots of practice with them as well. So lots of opportunity for you to use the words to see if you really do know what they mean. So let's have a look at the words together that we're going to focus on. Okay, so our first line, we have blanket, lie in, and dream. Duvet, snooze, and pillow. Nap, oversleep, and sleeping pills. Snore, keep awake, and insomnia. Yawn, sleepy, and siesta. And nightmares, sheets, and jet lag. So I'm going to talk to you about some of these words, but if there are any that you still don't know what they mean, as I said, it's a very good idea to look them up in a dictionary. So let's have a look at the word lie in. To have a lie in, it's a very positive word. It means when you sleep late because you want to. So maybe, for example, on your day off, you like to have a lie in the morning. If it's your day off, you don't have an alarm clock, you can sleep later. So it's a very positive word, to have a lie in. Okay, let's have a look at the word duvet. Do you know what a duvet is? Okay, well, a duvet is very popular in cooler countries where the climate is cooler. It's the object that you put over you when you're sleeping. So it's very fluffy. There's air inside, and there are different thicknesses, so depending how cold it is, but it's what you would sleep under. What about nap? What is a nap? Any ideas? Well, a nap, it's a very short word, and it means a very short sleep in the daytime. So maybe, for example, if you've had a very big lunch and you feel sleepy, you might like to take a nap after lunch. It means a short sleep in the middle of the day. What about the word next to it? Oversleep. This is a verb, to oversleep. Well, we looked at the verb lie in, to have a lie in, and we said it's very positive because you want to sleep late. Well, oversleep is negative. It means maybe you forgot to set your alarm. You wake up, oh my goodness, it's 10 a.m. and you're late for work. You have overslept. In the next line, we have the verb to snore. This can be a very annoying habit. To snore is the noise somebody makes when they're sleeping. I won't give you an impression, but I think you can get the idea. The noise someone makes when they are asleep. Okay, and the next line down, yawn. Look at the pronunciation of this word, yawn. It's a very long sound. The verb to yawn, it's that. It's when you involuntarily open your mouth because you're very tired, or maybe you're very bored, but be careful, that can be seen as impolite. So to yawn is usually when you are sleepy. And in the last line, let's look at the word jet lag. Do you know what jet lag means? So if you travel to a different country where the time is different to what you're used to, you can suffer from jet lag. So you've had a long flight, you wake up and your body clock is different. Maybe you feel like it should be nighttime, but the country you are in is daytime. You are suffering from jet lag. So probably it's something that a lot of us can relate to. Okay, so we're going to practice with these words. Now, I know there's a lot of vocabulary there, so I've given you some extra help this time. If you look at this slide, you'll notice that the words are all different colours. So what I've done in our practice slide is I have put the gap in the colour of the word which is the answer. So for example, if the gap is green, then the word will be either dream, snore, or sheets. So there's a clue and there's some extra help there for you. Okay, so let's have a look at these 7 sentences and let's see if you can pause the slide and complete with the correct word. So, number 1. On my day off, I like to have and wake up late. Number 2, when it's winter, I like to sleep under a warm and. Number 3, I always try to have on the plane, but I still get. Number 4, I suffer from. I have tried taking, but they don't work for me. Number 5, you were so loud last night I couldn't sleep. Number 6, he and was late for work. Number 7, I can't. So look at the colour-coded gap. Look back at the previous slide and see if you can insert the correct word. So pause the slide and good luck. Okay, so how did you find that? Shall we have a look together at the answers? Number 1. On my day off, I like to have a lie-in and wake up late. Remember we talked about that time when you can stay in bed and sleep extra is a lie-in. When it's winter, I like to sleep under a warm duvet and blanket. So I talked about a duvet. Well, obviously, if it's very cold, you might like to put a blanket on top of that. Number 3, I always try to have a nap on the plane, but I still get jet lag. Number 4, I suffer from insomnia. I have tried taking sleeping pills, but they don't work for me. Number 5, you were snoring so loud last night I couldn't sleep. Number 6, he overslept and was late for work. And number 7, I keep yawning. I can't keep awake. Really well done if you managed to get those words correct. You can see that there is so much vocabulary connected to the topic of sleep. And again, practice, practice, practice is the best way to remember. Okay, which leads us very nicely on to our next exercise. So we're going to have a look at 4 lists of words, but in each word there is an odd one out. And this is an exercise that we have tried in previous lessons. It's a very nice exercise to do. So you have a list of words. 3 of them are connected, but one of them is different. And what you need to do is to find out which word is different and explain why. Okay, so our first line. Blanket, pillow, duvet and yawn. Lie in, snooze, insomnia and siesta. Sheets, snore, nightmare and dream. And row 4 we have jet lag, nap, keep awake and insomnia. So pause the slide, see if you can identify which word you think is the odd one out, the different word, and see if you can explain to me why that is. Okay, how did you do there? So if you were stuck, you could, of course, go back and have a look at the slide at the very beginning when we talked about different categories. There's a big clue there. But let's have a look together and see if you've got the same answers as me. Okay, so in our first row, we had blanket, pillow, duvet, and yawn. Yawn is the odd word out because it's something you do when you're sleepy. The other words are all things that you put on your bed. So your pillow is what you rest your head on, and a duvet and a blanket are what you sleep under. But yawn is something you do. In row 2, we had lie in, snooze, insomnia, and siesta. Insomnia is the odd one out because this is a problem. It's a problem connected to sleep, whereas lie in, snooze, and siesta are all types of sleep. So lie in when you sleep extra time in the morning. To snooze, the verb is a short sleep, a very light sleep. And a siesta is a borrowed word. It's not an English word, but it's a word we use when you have a sleep in the afternoon. Row 3, sheets, snore, nightmare, and dream. Well, sheets is the odd word out because, something you put on your bed, whereas snore, have nightmares, and dream are things you do when you're sleeping. And the last one, we had jet lag, nap, keep awake, and insomnia. Nap is the odd word out because it's a type of sleep, whereas jet lag, keep awake, and insomnia are all problems. Hope you enjoyed that exercise, and well done if you managed to get those correct. Okay, time for some more discussion. So, 6 questions for you. Number 1, do you ever have a nap during the day? Number 2, are you a light sleeper? So light sleeper is somebody who wakes up very easily. So if there's a noise, any small noise, and you wake up, you are a light sleeper. Do you know what the opposite is? A deep sleeper. So somebody who can sleep through any noise and not wake up is a deep sleeper. And probably we all know somebody who's a very light sleeper and somebody who's a very deep sleeper. But my question here to you is, are you a light sleeper? Number 3, how do you feel about sharing a room with someone who snores? Is it irritating, or maybe you're a deep sleeper and it doesn't bother you? Number 4, do you remember your dreams in the morning? Some people can remember very vividly what they dreamt about the night before. Some people can't remember at all, but what about you? Number 5, do you ever have difficulty falling asleep? What strategies or techniques do you use if so? And number 6, do you like to sleep under a duvet, blanket, or sheets? Or maybe a combination of those. I think a lot here depends on the climate as well. So again, if you'd like to send me in your answers, I'd be very happy to look at them for you. Email them into Perfectly Spoken, and remember to put level B2 lesson 34, and then I will check them for you. Remember as well, when you're answering the questions, try to use some of the new vocabulary. Okay, so we're going to move on to look at prepositions, a focus on prepositions connected to this topic. So your task here, match a preposition to the phrase. 3 very, very common prepositions here. at, in and on, and lots of phrases. The early hours, bedtime, 3 a.m., the weekend, lunchtime, a work night, the middle of the night, the evening, the end of the week, 11 p.m., weeknights, and my birthday. Very simple task. Which preposition do you need for each phrase? So you have three options. So the early hours, is it at the early hours, in the early hours, or on the early hours? Pause the slide and see if you can write the answers. Okay, so prepositions are very small words, but very challenging ones too, no matter what level of English you have. It's always a good idea to practice, to review and refresh. Let's have a look at the answers. So in the early hours, in the evening, in the middle of the night, at bedtime, at the weekend, at lunchtime, at 3 a.m., at 11 p.m., at the end of the week. On a work night, on weeknights, on my birthday. How did you do? Hopefully all of you got them all correct. I'm sure you did. Okay, so let's practice. That's the answers there. Let's have a look and see if you can put 7 prepositions in the right place. Number 1, if I'm awake, the early hours, I try to read a book. Number 2, weeknights, it's a good idea to go to bed early. Number 3, I like having a lie-in, my birthday. Number 4, it's scary if you hear noises, the middle of the night. Number 5, I usually have a hot drink, bedtime. Number 6, I try to relax, the evening. And number 7, I'd like to have a nap, lunchtime. So you have 3 options for each one, in, on, or at. Pause the slide and then we will check together. Okay, how did you find that? Let's have a look and see if you have 7 out of 7. If I'm awake in the early hours, number 1. Number 2, on weeknights. Number 3, on my birthday. Number 4, in the middle of the night. Number 5, at bedtime. Number 6, in the evening. And number 7, at lunchtime. Well done if you managed to get 7 out of 7 there. That's really well done. Like I say, they're very small words, but very tricky ones and very easy to make a mistake with. Okay, so the final part of our lesson, we are going to discuss what you think the impact of our modern lifestyles have on sleep. So just take a moment. What do you think? Think about typical modern lifestyles, typical behaviour, things that have changed, and what impact that can have on sleep. I'm going to show you some images to give you some ideas. Let's have a look at these 3 pictures. So, what impact do you think modern life has on our sleep patterns? Look at these photos for inspiration. So what can you see happening, or what can you see in these images? So picture 1, we have 2 young men working on laptops. One of them looks a little stressed. They both look tired. Maybe it's the early hours of the morning. They're still working. Okay, number 2, again, we have a laptop showing, and we have some coffee. So coffee's become very, very popular, increasingly popular. So what effect do you think drinking a lot of coffee has on sleep patterns? Or maybe you think it doesn't. I don't mind, but think about how you can justify your answers. And picture 3. I'm sure we've all experienced this. Perhaps this man has overslept. He's running late. So he's eating on the go. He's trying to get to work as quickly as possible. So have a look at these pictures for inspiration and see, what do you think? What's the impact that modern life has on sleep? Okay, so let's have a look at the questions together. Okay, so number 1, do you know anyone who does shift work? How do they manage to sleep in the daytime? So again, I'm sure we maybe know somebody who has to work at different hours, not a typical 9 to 5 job. How do they cope? How does that impact on their sleep pattern? Maybe it's true in your line of work. Maybe perhaps once a month you have to do a night shift. What strategies do you have, and how do you cope with that change for your body clock? Number 2, do you think we spend too much time looking at phones and computers? A lot of research suggests nowadays that it's not a good idea to have phones and computers in your bedroom, that we should keep our bedrooms as a zone that's completely free of technology so that we can switch off and have a deep sleep. But what do you think? Do you think we spend too much time, and is this impacting on our sleep patterns? Number 3, what strategies do you have for combating jet lag? So again, modern life, people travel a lot more, go to far away places where the time zone is very different. How do you cope with that? Do you have any tips you'd like to share? What do you think is the best approach to adjust your body to the new time zone? Number 4, do you like to sleep in total darkness? Again, modern life, a lot of us nowadays living in cities, it's very difficult to find somewhere that's complete total darkness unless you have blackout curtains or blinds. There's usually light outside from other buildings, other apartments, from cars, street lights. How do you find this? Has your body adjusted to it, or do you find that you need total darkness to have a good sleep? And number 5, what keeps you up at night? Now, to keep you up, I mean keeps you awake. So what keeps you up means something that is worrying you. Perhaps nowadays people are more stressed than in the past. Do you find that you are worrying about work instead of sleeping? Do you find that you can't switch off very easily? Your mind is still processing perhaps things you have to do the next day? What sort of problems keep you up at night? Or maybe you're one of the lucky ones that has no problem falling asleep, can sleep very deeply, and isn't kept up at night with stress and worry. I really hope so. Okay. That's the end of lesson 34. I hope you enjoyed it. Very interesting topic and lots to think about. Lesson 35 will be a review lesson. So we will be going back and looking at the topics we covered in lessons 31, 32, 33 and 34. So the grammar focus will be gerund and infinitive. Vocabulary focus will be music and sleep. Okay, I hope to see you next time. Thank you.